She forced her fiancé's pregnant black ex-wife to sing at her wedding to humiliate her, and that's exactly what Isabella Stevens did when she hired Camila Rodriguez to be the singer at her millionaire wedding. "I hope you know your place here," Isabella whispered to Camila backstage at the Grand Hotel Metropolitan, while adjusting her diamond tiara. "You're here to serve, not to draw attention to yourself. Do you understand?" Camila, 7 months pregnant, held her microphone firmly and replied with a calmness that made Isabella frown. "I understand perfectly." What the new Mrs. Stevens didn't realize was that she had just awakened something very dangerous in a woman who had lost everything but still had one powerful weapon: her voice. 3 hours earlier, Camila had discovered the truth behind the dream job that had mysteriously appeared when she needed money the most. Patricia, the event planner, had slipped up during a phone conversation. "The bride specifically insisted on you. She said she knew your work, personally." Camila's heart had stopped. Isabella Stevens. The woman who had stolen her husband David during the worst moment of her life, when she had lost her job and discovered she was pregnant. The same Isabella who would now marry the father of her child in a $2 million ceremony. David had left Camila by text message. Literally. "I can't take this life anymore. Isabella offers me a future you could never give me." 6 years of marriage destroyed in 160 characters. Now, watching Isabella strut around the hall like a queen, Camila understood the cruel plan. Being forced to sing at her ex-husband's wedding while carrying his child was no coincidence. It was calculated humiliation, a show of power, a painful reminder of who had won that war. 5 minutes to go," announced Patricia, rushing nervously between the vendors. Isabella had demanded absolute perfection. 300 elite guests, including politicians, businesspeople, and celebrities. All filmed for a luxury magazine. Camila gently touched her belly, where the baby kicked as if sensing the tension. "Calm down, my love," she whispered. "Mommy will take care of everything." What neither Isabella nor David knew was that Camila had spent the last few months doing much more than just preparing for the baby's birth. She had been busy uncovering some very interesting secrets about the perfect couple. While everyone saw her as a defeated, pregnant, abandoned woman singing for money at her ex-husband's wedding, Camila smiled for the first time in months. Sometimes the best revenge comes wrapped up in a song no one expects to hear. If you're enjoying this story of twists and justice, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out how a simple song can turn humiliation into total victory. 2 hours before the ceremony, Isabella made a point of personally guiding her hired singer. "Camila dear," she said with a venomous smile, "I want you to understand exactly how things work here." They were in the dressing room reserved for vendors, a cramped space in the back of the hotel, far from the luxurious halls where the real guests were getting ready. Isabella had shown up with 3 friends, all wearing dresses that cost more than Camila's annual salary. "You're going to sing the songs I've chosen, in the key I've determined, and you're going to smile like you're the happiest person in the world," Isabella continued, circling Camila like a predator. "Because today isn't about you. It's never been about you." "I understand," Camila replied, adjusting the simple black dress she had managed to borrow from her sister. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. She didn't give Isabella the satisfaction of seeing her break down. "Look at her, guys," Isabella laughed to her friends. "Pregnant, abandoned, singing at her ex-husband's wedding. If that's not pathetic, I don't know what is." What Isabella didn't know was that every cruel word was being recorded by the voice app Camila had discreetly left active on her cell phone. 3 months of meticulous preparation couldn't be wasted because of nervousness. One of Isabella's friends whispered something about "these kinds of people, always trying to take advantage of successful men." Camila smiled inwardly. If only they knew that David had lied about absolutely everything, including the real reasons for the divorce. The flashback came without warning. Camila at 23, radiant at the altar of a small church, marrying David Rodriguez in a simple ceremony but full of true love. He was just a novice accountant then, and she was a wedding singer trying to build a career. They shared a tiny apartment for 6 years, dreaming together, building a life. Everything changed when David got the job at Isabella's father's company. Suddenly, he started coming home late, criticizing Camila's appearance, suggesting that she improve herself to match his new social status. "You have to understand, love," he would say, "I move in different circles now." The real blow came when Camila discovered she was pregnant. Instead of joy, David showed pure horror. "This will ruin everything," he had shouted. Isabella's father will never accept me in the company if he knows you're pregnant. He's too conservative. Too conservative for children, but not for adultery? Camila had asked, already suspecting his betrayal. That's when David dropped the bomb. He had proposed to Isabella 3 weeks earlier. The divorce was already being prepared by expensive lawyers, and Camila would be portrayed as an unstable wife who was trying to trap her husband with an inconvenient pregnancy. Returning to the present, Isabella was still talking, now explaining where Camila should stand during the ceremony. Right at the back, of course. You're just the musical accompaniment. No one should even notice you're there. Perfect, Camila murmured, unconsciously touching her belly where the baby was kicking. Exactly where I want to be. What neither Isabella nor David realized was that Camila had spent the last 3 months doing much more than just rehearsing wedding songs. She had hired a private investigator, gathered suspicious financial documents, and uncovered secrets about the Stevens family that would make the scandal of the century. Mainly about the dirty money that financed the Stevens empire and how David was up to his neck in activities that could destroy them both forever. While Isabella treated her like invisible trash, Camila smiled genuinely for the first time in months. Sometimes the best position to attack is exactly where no one expects you to be. Every humiliation Isabella imposed only strengthened something inside Camila that her oppressors couldn't see, a silent force fueled by the very injustice they tried to impose, growing like fire fueled by gasoline. David appeared in the dressing room an hour before the ceremony, clearly nervous. 6 years of marriage had taught Camila to read every expression on his face, and now she saw exactly what she expected, guilt masked by defensive arrogance. "Camila, I need to talk to you," he said, closing the door behind him. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his expensive tie. "About today, about all of this. About hiring me to sing at your wedding while I'm pregnant with your child?" Camila asked sweetly, continuing to warm up her voice. "Or about lying to Isabella, saying we were never really married?" David's face paled. How did she know that? "Listen, I know it seems cruel, but," he began, but Camila interrupted him with a smile that made him take a step back. "David dear, don't worry. I understand your dilemma perfectly." She stood up gracefully, one hand supporting her belly. "It must be difficult to explain to your new wife that you abandoned your pregnant ex-wife and even lied about our marriage certificate to get a quicker divorce." David swallowed hard. Where did you get that information?" "Rosa is an excellent lawyer," Camila replied simply. "My sister has always been meticulous with legal documents. Especially when she discovered that you forged my signature on at least 3 forms at the registry office." The truth was that Rosa had spent the last 3 months digging up every sordid detail of the fraudulent divorce. As a criminal lawyer, she had contacts David could never have imagined. And when she discovered that her brother-in-law had committed not only adultery but document fraud to speed up the process, Rosa had become a relentless machine of justice. "Camila, please," David whispered, looking desperately at the door. "If you say anything today, you'll ruin everything. The Stevens family can destroy me. My job, my career." "Your career built on lies and forged documents." Camila tilted her head, pretending to consider. "Interesting that you mention that, because Rosa also discovered some curious irregularities in the financial reports you signed for Isabella's father." David sat down heavily in a chair, his face now completely white. "What do you want?" "Nothing you can give," Camila replied with brutal honesty. "Your honesty was already too late months ago. Your money can't buy integrity. And your family. Well, soon the entire New York elite will know exactly what kind of man Isabella has chosen." At that moment, the door opened and Rosa entered, elegant in a dark suit, carrying a leather briefcase. At 35, Camila's older sister had built a fearsome reputation in the courts, specializing in cases where powerful men thought they could escape the consequences of their actions. "David," Rosa greeted him coldly. "What a coincidence to find you here. I just sent some very interesting documents to the FBI. Something about money laundering through Stevens Company's offshore accounts." "You're bluffing," David tried, but his voice came out strangled. Rosa smiled, opening the folder. "Bank transfers, confidential emails, records of meetings that officially never happened. 3 years of evidence showing how you helped Isabella's father hide $50 million in taxes." "The curious thing," Rosa continued, leafing through the documents with obvious pleasure, "is that Isabella seems to know nothing about it. Poor thing, She's going to find out that she's not just marrying a lying husband, but a federal criminal. David staggered to his feet. You can't do this. You don't know who you're messing with. The Stevens have influence, lawyers, they can destroy anyone who. Like you tried to destroy my sister, Rosa interrupted him, her voice sharp as a blade. Like you destroyed 6 years of marriage out of greed and ambition? How could you think you could humiliate her by making her sing at her own wedding? Camila placed a gentle hand on her sister's arm. Rosa, let him go. There's a ceremony starting in 40 minutes, and I still need to get ready. Get ready for what? David asked, a new wave of panic tinging his voice. To sing, of course, Camila replied innocently. After all, that's what I was hired for. And how lucky that Isabella chose exactly the right songs for the occasion. Rosa put the documents away with a smile. Sister, you've always had a special talent for choosing the right songs at the right time. I remember when we were little and you used to sing those songs that made everyone cry. That's true, Camila agreed, tuning her voice one last time. Mom always said I had a gift for touching people's deepest feelings. For making them understand truths they preferred to ignore. David stumbled out, and Rosa turned to her sister. Are you sure about this, Cammy? Once you start singing, there's no turning back. Camila looked at her reflection in the mirror, seeing no longer an abandoned and humiliated woman, but a force of nature about to rebalance the scales of justice. Rosa, for months I felt small, invisible, discarded. Today, 300 of the most influential people in New York will hear me sing. And they'll hear much more than music, Rosa murmured, hugging her sister. Exactly. Camila smiled, and for the first time in months, the smile reached her eyes. Sometimes the truth needs a melody to be truly heard. And I've always been very good at hitting the high notes, especially when they echo for a long, long time. As the sisters hugged, neither of them could have imagined that in less than an hour, that song would not only destroy a marriage, but spark a federal investigation that would wipe one of New York's most powerful families out of business forever. The ceremony began promptly at 5 in the afternoon. 300 guests from New York's elite filled the main hall of the Grand Hotel Metropolitan, whispering about business, politics, and social gossip as they awaited the bride's entrance. Camila positioned herself discreetly in the corner of the stage, exactly where Isabella had ordered her to stand, right in the back, where no one should even notice you're there. Ironically, this position gave her a perfect view of all the official photographers' cameras and the dozens of cell phones already recording for social media. David waited at the altar, visibly nervous, repeatedly adjusting his tie. His eyes met Camila's for a moment, and she could see the barely concealed panic. He knew she had the power to destroy him, but clearly hoped she would remain silent as she always had. Ladies and gentlemen, announced the officiant, please rise to welcome our bride. The doors opened and Isabella appeared radiant in her $200,000 dress, walking triumphantly toward the altar. Each step was a display of power, wealth, and victory over the insignificant ex-wife, who now sang for her for money. Our singer will treat us to a special song during the signing of the vows, continued the officiant. Camila smiled, adjusting the microphone. Thank you. This song is very special to me. It's called The Truth They Hid. David instantly paled. That wasn't the title of the traditional songs they had rehearsed. Camila began to sing, her voice rising clear and powerful through the hall. 6 years of marriage he threw away, for a rich blonde who arrived just in time. He said I had no class, no style, but he forgot to mention that our divorce was fake from the start. A shocked murmur ran through the crowd. Isabella froze in the middle of the aisle, her perfect smile fading. Falsified documents to speed up the process. My signature forged, I confess. And while I cried, pregnant and abandoned, he laundered money for his beloved's family. Stop immediately! David shouted, running toward the stage, but 2 security guards discreetly positioned by Rosa intercepted him. Camila continued, now looking directly at Isabella. 50 million hidden in offshore accounts, evaded taxes, lies, and more. Isabella dear, your Prince Charming is a wanted federal criminal. The hall erupted in chaos. Guests screamed, cameras flashed, cell phones frantically recorded. Isabella ran to David, who was being restrained by security guards. David! Is this true? She screamed, tears smearing her perfect makeup. Isabella, don't listen to her. It's a lie, revenge. David shouted back, but his voice trembled with guilt. At that moment, Rosa appeared on stage alongside Camila, holding a megaphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I am Rosa Rodriguez, criminal lawyer. I have here documentary evidence of matrimonial fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering involving David Rodriguez and the Stevens family." The crowd fell silent. "This evidence was handed over to the FBI this morning," Rosa continued. "David forged my sister's signature on divorce papers to fraudulently marry Isabella Stevens. In addition, he helped her father, Harold Stevens, hide $50 million in taxes through offshore accounts in Panama. Charles Stevens, Isabella's father, tried to hide among the guests, but Rosa pointed directly at him. "Mr. Stevens, federal agents are on their way. I suggest you don't try to leave the building." Isabella looked at her father, then at David, and finally at Camila on stage. Her entire privileged life was falling apart in real time before 300 witnesses and dozens of cameras. "You," Isabella pointed a trembling finger at Camila, "you planned this. You destroyed my marriage." Camila stepped gracefully off the stage, one hand supporting her pregnant belly. "Isabella, dear, I didn't destroy anything. I just sang the truth. If that destroyed your marriage, maybe you should question who you were marrying." David finally managed to break free from the security guards and ran to Camila. "You had no right. You didn't know the consequences." "The consequences?" Camila laughed bitterly. "David, you abandoned me when I was pregnant, forged my signature, lied about our marriage, and hired me to sing at your fake wedding just to humiliate me. The consequences are exactly what you deserve." At that moment, FBI agents entered the hall, badges in hand. The lead agent addressed David and Charles Stevens directly. "David Rodriguez and Charles Stevens, you are under arrest for tax fraud, money laundering, and document forgery. Anything you say can and will be used against you." Handcuffs clicked around both their wrists as Isabella screamed hysterically, and the guests filmed everything with their cell phones. In a matter of minutes, the videos would be going viral across the country. Patricia, the wedding planner, ran to Rosa in despair. "How are we going to explain this to the press? The wedding has been cancelled, the bride and groom are under arrest." "Simple," Rosa replied calmly. "Say that the truth came to light at the right time. After all, it's better to find out sooner than later." Camila watched David being led away in handcuffs, Isabella crying inconsolably in her ruined $200,000 dress, and Charles Stevens trying to explain to the agents that it was all a misunderstanding. A reporter quickly approached her. "Ms. Rodriguez, how do you feel knowing that your song has just exposed one of the biggest financial scandals of the year?" Camila smiled serenely, touching her belly where the baby kicked as if applauding. "I feel free. For the first time in months, completely free." As chaos continued around her, with police escorting the criminals, Isabella being comforted by shocked friends, and reporters trying to understand what they had just witnessed, one question hung in the air: how had a simple pregnant singer managed to orchestrate the downfall of one of New York's most powerful families in less than 10 minutes? 3 months later, Camila was sitting in her new 2-bedroom apartment, breastfeeding her newborn daughter Sophia, while watching the news. The anchor was talking about the Stevens scandal, as the media had dubbed the case that continued to make headlines. David Rodriguez was sentenced today to 8 years in prison for tax fraud and document forgery, the reporter announced. Charles Stevens received 12 years for laundering $50 million. The Stevens Corporation filed for bankruptcy last week, leaving hundreds of employees unemployed. Rosa entered the apartment carrying flowers and a box of chocolates. "How is my favorite niece?" she asked, kissing Sophia on the top of her head. "Growing strong and healthy," Camila smiled. "And I just received an interesting offer from Universal Records. They want me to record an entire album about female empowerment." The truth was that Camila's life had completely changed. The wedding video had been viewed by over 100 million people worldwide. Job offers arrived daily: concerts, TV shows, advertising contracts, invitations to motivational talks. More importantly, she had become a powerful voice for betrayed and abandoned women. Her story inspired countless people facing similar situations. Social media was full of messages of support and gratitude. "Remember that wedding planner, Patricia?" Rosa asked, arranging flowers in a vase. "She called me yesterday. She said that since the Stevens incident, as she calls it, she has received over 200 requests from clients specifically wanting you to sing at their weddings. Camila laughed. I guess now they want to make sure there are no skeletons in the closet before they walk down the aisle. Speaking of skeletons, Rosa pulled a gossip magazine from her bag. Look what I found out about dear Isabella. The cover showed Isabella leaving a modest apartment building, wearing simple clothes and sunglasses. The headline read, Former heiress works as a waitress to survive. After her father was arrested and his assets confiscated, she lost literally everything, Rosa explained. The mansion, the cars, the jewelry, even the designer clothes were auctioned off to pay federal fines. Now she lives in a rented studio and works 3 different jobs. Camila shook her head. I don't take pleasure in this, Rosa. I know how hard it is to struggle to survive. You're too good, sister. After everything she did to you. She was just a spoiled woman who never learned the value of things, Camila interrupted gently. The real evil was in David and her father. Isabella was just another victim, only too privileged to realize it. At that moment, Camila's cell phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Camila? It's Isabella. Her voice sounded tired, humble, very different from the arrogant tone of months ago. Rosa's eyes widened, but Camila gestured for her to be quiet. Hi, Isabella. How did you get my number? Patricia gave it to me. I know I have no right to call you, but I need to say something. There was a long pause. Camila could hear Isabella breathing heavily on the other end of the line. I was wrong. About everything. About you, about David, about what I thought was important in life. Isabella's voice trembled. You saved me from a marriage that would have destroyed me, and I only realized it after I lost everything. Isabella. No, let me finish. Please, Isabella sighed deeply. I found out that David had done the same thing to 2 other women before you. He used them, got them pregnant, and abandoned them. There's a pattern, Camila. You weren't the first, and I wouldn't have been the last. Camila closed her eyes, processing the information. Even after everything, discovering that David was even worse than she had imagined caused a strange pain. The FBI showed me evidence, Isabella continued. He planned to use me to launder even more of my father's money through offshore accounts in my name. After a few years of marriage, he probably would have implicated me in federal crimes and disappeared with everything. My God, Isabella. Your music saved me from a lifetime of lies and possibly prison. And I treated you like trash. Isabella began to cry. You are the bravest person I have ever met, and I was cruel to you just out of jealousy disguised as superiority. Camila looked at Sophia, sleeping peacefully in her arms. Isabella, what's done is done. You were a different person then. I want to change. I'm in therapy, working honestly for the first time in my life, trying to understand who I really am when I don't have my parents' money to define me. Isabella hesitated. I know I don't deserve it, but I'd like to ask for your forgiveness. You already have it, Camila replied without hesitation. We all deserve second chances, Isabella. Especially when we recognize our mistakes and genuinely try to change. After hanging up, Rosa looked at her sister with admiration. How can you be so magnanimous after everything? Because holding on to anger hurts me more than it hurts those who hurt me, Camila explained, stroking Sophia's hair. And because I want my daughter to grow up seeing that it's possible to be strong without being cruel, that it's possible to seek justice without losing your humanity. 2 days later, Camila was in the studio recording her first official single, a professionally produced version of The Truth They Hid. The song had already entered the top 10 most played songs in the country, and record labels around the world wanted the international rights. But the most special moment came when she received a letter from a 17-year-old girl named Anna, from a small town in the countryside. Dear Camila, my boyfriend abandoned me when he found out I was pregnant. He said I was trying to trap him and that he would never take on a responsibility that wasn't his. I felt destroyed, worthless, as if it really were my fault. Then I saw your video. Your courage gave me the strength to seek legal help, tell my family, and find out that he had done this to 2 other girls at school. Now he is facing the consequences, and I am preparing to be the best mother I can be. Thank you for showing me that the truth is more powerful than any lie, and that our dignity does not depend on who loves us, but on how we love ourselves. Camila kept the letter in Sophia's album, along with hundreds of other similar messages she received daily. Her story had become much bigger than her personal revenge. It had become a symbol that it is possible to transform pain into power, humiliation into strength, and betrayal into triumph. 6 months later, David was transferred to a maximum security federal penitentiary after attempting to bribe a guard. News reports showed a visibly dejected, aged man who had lost not only his freedom but also the arrogance that had once defined his personality. Charles Stevens died in prison of a heart attack, taking with him all the dirty secrets of decades of corruption. Isabella inherited only debts and endless lawsuits. Meanwhile, Camila signed million-dollar contracts, bought her first home, and planned a foundation to help single mothers rebuild their lives after abandonment and betrayal. On the night of her first solo performance in a sold-out theater, she looked out at the audience before singing and said, "This song is for all the women who have ever been called not good enough by men who, in fact, were the ones who didn't deserve you." The theater erupted in applause that lasted 5 minutes without interruption. After the show, Rosa found Camila in her dressing room. "You did it, sister. You turned the worst betrayal of your life into the best thing that ever happened to you." "No," Camila corrected, looking at a photo of Sophia in the mirror. "David tried to destroy me, but he ended up setting me free. He did me a favor. He showed me exactly the kind of person I never want to be, and he gave me the motivation to become the woman I should always have been." The best revenge, Camila discovered, was not to destroy those who had hurt her. It was to build a life so full, so successful, so full of love and purpose that the betrayal became just a footnote in the story of her victory. David had bet that she would be just another woman broken by his cruelty. Instead, he created a force of nature who used her own pain to heal thousands of other people around the world. If this story of transformation, justice, and overcoming adversity has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel to discover more real stories of people who have turned their greatest defeats into the most inspiring victories of their lives. Because sometimes, the best gift your enemies can give you is to completely underestimate who you really are.